All right. Good morning, everyone. So, season one, episode 42. I don't know exactly how we got to these many episodes. I mean, I know scope creep and stop and go, and lots of stuff to do. Plus being stream episodes, but it's a great number. So, I was saying pre-stream. Let me recap very quickly what I want to do with these streams. So, if you're tuning in for the stream now, or for you're checking the episode on YouTube, you should watch it. You should watch all of it because it's episode 42, which is an important number. But what we plan to do is fix the flipping on these, do the IO for the foot for sure, get the lot together, exporting the rig for consumption. I mean, that's almost certainly gonna happen. Um, I don't know if I'll do it on stream because it's not exactly exciting or even uh, particularly interesting. I mean, there's not a lot to learn. And then maybe we get to binding the geometry just to see how things behave once they're bound and check the scaling of everything. And I don't know. It feels like we're pretty close to the end of the puppet. The answer to the puppet in episode 42. I like that. So with all that said, let's get on with it instead of talking about getting on with it. Now, last time around, I did see these control getting a -1/-1 scaling from the buffer, which we do have here. I do have the foot, but it might not have been cleaned up to the same extent that everything else was. Oh, sorry, this is for the leg, not the foot. So this is part of the FK leg, and it's also not in here, probably because it's inheriting something very, very simple from somewhere. So we want to ensure everything here is pinned, and then we go spelunking for issues. So this is probably not connected or anything, it's just inheriting, but these should be, if it's got a -1/-1, is it just inheriting? Nah, it's doing a lot more as expected. Now, in our legwork, no pun intended, we did not look at these. And I pulled everything with that, which is okay. Luckily, it wasn't a long dependency chain. So it is receiving from the input, like global output. We don't care about that. So it's receiving from this control. So we do have work elsewhere. Oh, the scaling is not connected to anything, so it's just being inherited, which will be the same for this one. Obviously, I'm looking at that one anyway. So do I want to fix this one and port it to the other because I have the graph laid out? I might prefer. Oh, so I'm silly. Okay, this is like left. Normally I work on the left first, but in this case I was working on the mirrored one. That will make sense. That's why we did not have this in the leg graph. So let's see what secrets does the right leg have for us. So the fact that Maya cannot decide how to snap things. So this is the graph doing the work now. Somewhere we're doing, there you go, handed negation. So this is the one fixing the handedness for us so that we get the reflection done. Now what is may be happening. Is this doing some work? Translate and rotate. The handiness does not get changed. So because, okay, I know what is going on here. Because we need to do a reparenting of sorts where we get the offset for the ankle, which is all good. I mean, that all makes sense. We're going through a matrix that is basically reforming, or whatever you want to call it, reframing our transform, and we lose the handedness the way we had done it before. So I don't think that's a huge deal, but it needs fixing for sure. So let me see if I have both of these selected. See, if you ignore the direction being in, you know, the other way around, this is mirrored behavior. So the behavior is correct on that axis. Yeah, we might be good. So let me yeah, we need to work on it, but so it's mirroring on these axes, mirroring on these axes, mirroring these. So behavior is good. Now, did we do that I think we simply did that manually. So I reckon what we should be able to do. So this is handed negation, where we have the input B, which is this condition is where we go and based on the handedness we generate -1 if handedness is true and 1 if handedness is false, I will guess. It might be that simple. It might be that we did something manually to test things, it worked out, but now it needs a little bit of extra love. That would be pretty cool. This making sense to everybody? What I'm yammering about. So 1 and 2. So that's okay. That's not beaten us yet. He's not hating us. Now we care about my daughter got excited about jeans. We care about the leg R handedness sign. So let's see if the remaining, oops, cool. So we only need the sign, I reckon, but like that was such a trivial fix that I don't want to do the export import again. I would like to see if my theory is correct. Okay, that's promising. It did not explode. Now the other thing I want to make sure of is that, yeah, I've not made the silly mistake of like connecting one of the input parameters instead of the output. Not that that ever happened to me on stream several times, sometimes on the same stream. So we're on a roll, like with bug fixes. See, this is, I reckon this is the mark, similarly to the mark of good code. This is the mark of a well laid out rig, despite the fact that Maya's graph is like the node editor is not the bestest to do this kind of work. It has some things I like about it, make no mistake, but it's also like very hard to organize your work in and all of that. Despite that, and despite the fact that the rig was untouched for, you know, a month, and then before that it was untouched for a while, it was pretty easy to find the problem and solve it. So I like that. I mean, this is a simple rig, obviously, but I think that's usually the mark of a good layout and, a good rig, at least from a developer point of view. And the animators might hate it. So that is done. Which I do kind of like. The handiness should stay with the D-guiding. So I'm missing this from the selection? Yes, I am. Now, because of the guiding that is not following, do not love that. Let's see. Oh, no plugin. Sorry. Okay. Swap and swap. I think I have multi-selection. I need to check, because this is getting kind of silly. So 1 and 2. Right, look at that. Cool. So behavior is what we would expect. Now, the fact that these are oriented like that instead of like going down the length of the foot is, remember, because we're matching the word control here, not trying to make it visually like the foot. It will be a last second kind of thing to get these fixed, and I will probably guide these. So I don't want to do it now, but oh, daughter bumped into something. Big drama. Tutto bene? Alright, it's just noise. Low dexterity score. Oh, I finished coffee. I wanted more coffee. Anyway, so that is done. Now the next thing we need to do is do the I/O for the foot. And we have good viewership, but chat is super quiet. So if we do that and we put it back in, is that the end of the rig? Seriously, gonna be that anticlimactic. More drama. This time because she's not allowed to bite people. Anyway, sorry. It's it's hard to concentrate when that is going on. So select asset content. So this is the foot, which I don't believe had any weird scaling or anything like that. So let's export that. Yeah, all the options are correctness. So sorry, all I'm doing is like browsing stuff to save. So sync components. I do need to have a look at why Maya keeps messing with my footage. Every time I open a browser of sorts, it's like not quite where I expect it to be. So export done. Import to do. See, this one is finally where I expect it to be. Maybe because I just exported there. Foot version 3. So, chat, you are bad people because nobody's reminding me to say things when we are in a good place. Now, I wish I had another tab open because that would have been cool. But let's see. Oh, what? I said clean. Clean means clean. You disagree? Is everything pinned? Absolutely unintentional rhyming there. I swear. So, okay. Do not want in here. These all seems in good order to me. By the way, if anybody was following my struggles with right click, I didn't delete my Maya preferences or anything. I literally went and messed with a lot of preferences. Now, there's a few things that are weird. Like normally when you're in something that has a right click and it might be super tiny for you, you can see, this is actually a useful tip. If you're on shelves, if you see that rectangle with lines in it, that I guess is supposed to look like a menu, that means that whatever you're hovering on has right click options. Now the outliner used to not have it because it's visually somewhat intrusive, despite the fact that something might have right click options, right? But the titles do. And yesterday, if you remember, this was stuck, and it was still stuck this morning. And after I changed a bunch of preferences, and it fixed itself, and it's now working. I have no idea what is going on with that, but it was functioning at least. So problems that fix themselves, scary. But yeah, if you ever bump into the same issues I did, I detest deleting the preferences. It feels like a shamanistic practice. People go like, oh, I'll fix things, and it's like, yeah, I don't know if they're like really getting that corrupted that frequently. Now, blabbering aside, I do desire to rename these because we've had good luck with that before, and it's gonna be the usual Artwell. The fact that it blasts away the namespace still kind of does my head in, but what can you do? Now, next thing is like where stuff like control guide and the form, we don't flag those with the component name. This is a repeat of the same thing we're doing over and over. Filter is super active this morning. Wow. As they are most mornings. So, foot left. Can I just, yeah, I can yank these away. So it's interesting to see what happens with the guiding. Like it's, like that will get fixed once we hook it back up. Now, foot right. If we have been good, now hopefully we have been good, my expectations will be, okay, so let me pin these in place, get the foot right input here, and grab, whoa, 2 is a lot. Apparently, I needed less. I wanted less. So what I want is now, and this is again why I like the whole bound input output thing, it's so convenient. So foot input, now do I have it anywhere in here? output input. So output, there you go. Now the way things have worked out, I expect these to be emulated. I don't expect this to be an issue at all. In fact, I don't need this. I only need WhatsApp stream. So I want a bunch of things coming from the leg for the foot and nothing else. Obviously I need the left leg and not the right leg. So this is not too bad. Now early on we also made a code that we would allow, so leg global and leg output, which makes sense, that we would allow config to go through. I don't regret that, but it also means that sometimes you get things like these where you go like, oh, we said, you know, be output to input and nothing else, with the exception of simple things like the config parameters. So let's hook those back up and see. So leg global output, so that's all in good order. Component, so leg global L output, and leg global config parameters. We do want those. Those are the tool parameters. So where, what? Anim. Ah, there you go. So 1 and 2. See, this is the kind of work that normally you would have scripts or something to do for you. So leg our output. So my daughter is super distracted this morning. Ciao. Bye bye. All right. Sorry, leg our output, leg L. Okay. So rewire those. Now the other thing I need to look at is whether the config parameters were being used to receive something. That seems pretty important. Now FKIK blend would be receiving from the leg, I imagine. So it's disconnected in there, not loving that. Unless I'm missing a connection, I need to look at that. That I am not loving. So the end of chain of the output is gonna be the start. Then we have Darcy angle and toe angle from the leg global, which makes sense. So if you're in partial mode, it doesn't show these as outputs, which is so silly. Like the matrices, it does, these does not. I don't know if it was me not turning on a flag when I created angles. It will not be my first choice. Darcy length and toe length, that is just passing things through. I'm allowing myself to adjust there because it's a fairly harmless one. And toe length. So not loving the FKIK blend not being connected. We'll have a quick look at that because I suspect that that will do some damage. So this is okay, this is the IK, fine with that. Now I don't think I re-guided things, so this is cool. I'm quite happy with that behavior. Now what we would know, I suspect that FKIK blend not being connected. Let me see super quickly. Oh, we haven't implemented it, have we? So we're keeping a fixed offset. Let's see. No, we would have implemented it, but foot roll. So if I black box the components, I will get a much reduced set of things to mess with. So leg L and in parameters. Slower, please. Okay, that's cool. The other thing we want to have a look at is leg global L, control, and in parameters. So see, it's following the IK in full, even if it's, you know, half and half or on a blend. I bet you that it will do that. Yeah. So it's following the IK. We haven't implemented the FK-IK blend at all, I reckon. Which is okay, it gives us something to do. And it is, like, it's working okay. Including, you know, when it's reaching the limit, instead of doing weird things, it will just try to follow as well as it can. So I don't mind any of that, like, that's pretty well behaved. That means we do have, yeah, a little bit of implementation work to do on the foot. We'll see how much work it actually is. So we're about half an hour in, and we've done the IO, we've fixed that super micro bug with the negative scaling. Let's have a look at these. Now, I don't believe I need guiding at all. I mean, the foot, like, one thing I like is that we guided the foot roll, and then that gives us all the angles, and the foot will receive the rest angles from the other components, so it always responds. I quite like that. It means that we don't have two-tiered work to do. We only have to fix the default state, I guess, of the foot. And now we don't need these any longer. Don't want to do it on the... Oh, there's no negative scaling, so that's also cool. Let's see if we can do it. So I will be interested in Lego and in parameters. I would like that. Now, I don't remember, did we say that it's okay to link anim parameters directly? Is it? I am tempted to say yes. Because this is the input. So it's like what we're saying, you know, it has to be coming from outputs or from parameters. I'm okay with it for now. I'll have to, like, there's no real, you know, right or wrong way to do it. Is the intention to have the foot blend back to the rest angles when in FK mode? Yeah, pretty much. Like, it should be fairly simple. So if you are, the way it is now, basically, and I was in a stream of consciousness kind of situation, and it might not be obvious. Thank you for snapping me out of it. So the way it is now, as you blend IK and FK, it always preserves the foot roll. Now that you might even consider that a feature, where you go like, well, look, it's, you know, you get the foot roll regardless of whether you're in IK and FK, which I've done on some rigs. I've certainly put that to animators. I don't have a preference. Like I don't feel like, oh look, it's a great idea, and if animators don't get it, they're, they don't know how good it is, and it's like, nah, you do it, you see if they like it. Um, it's the way I go about for a lot of features. I do stuff and then give it to animators and see if they like it or not. Um, so the idea, what we have here, which is kind of like, I'm not gonna say intentional, but it's, you could consider it a feature, is that now if you have the role, it basically gives you the role parameters as they are on the FK, just transmitted down. That's the nature of how we rig this thing. You get that feature for free if you care for it, and I do actually quite like it, on a purely technical level. Now, the irony of this is that that feature being for free means that leaving it there is like, it doesn't cost you performance. If anything, it's gonna be a little bit more performant to leave it there than to than to suppress that feature. The other thing we've done is we have an FKIK blending here, which we are linking out to. I don't know if I put it there preemptively or if I always intended to do it, but um, we want one FKIK blend. We don't want people chasing attributes all over the place and um, having to mix and match. That's another thing that you could do, or you go like, oh look, we could like we could rename these to something else and whatnot. Um, anyway, translate. Why? So this is doing something actually. Was I already working with it? I'm now confused. Anyway, I'll look at it. Um, hmm. Sorry, getting lost for a second. So that's another thing that people often do. Like, you have a million parameters, and the way you combine those parameters, like something is on or off in one component or on or off in another, you basically get four states out of it, because you can change and combine these things, and the behaviors will differ, or even more confusingly, sometimes one affects the other, but you don't get full combinations. So you have maybe three behaviors. Um, it can get a bit nasty. I don't like that. So I like having attributes in one place that have an effect coherently for as long as possible. Now the part that we gotta figure out is, we have the FKIK connected. It was not connected to the leg. Now it is. But the role is still having an effect even if we are in FK mode, right? So FKIK blend at 0 should be in FK. Now, is this... It's possible that all we were doing here, like, because I already have those blends, is the effect of these versus the effect of that. So we did do good work, right? We did consider the ankle as it should have been considered. So let me put that. So I think that the way we have the blend is, see, this has no effect now because it's FK, and this does because it's the IK one. So that's good, like that. Do we leave that feature in or not? Chat, do you have an opinion? As I said, I technically like it, but my experience is that animators are normally confused by the foot roll carrying over when they are in FK mode. The foot roll is something that people think of as, it's got to roll off the ground. It's very much an IK feature in people's minds. There's no logic reason for it to be that way, as demonstrated by the fact that we have the foot roll working forwards without any issues for free. Now, while chat picks that up, if anybody does, let's have a looky. It will be very little work, I reckon, to take that feature away. It's only 2 items that will basically need their rotation zeroed out. So this is blending already. Okay, so we were already kind of supporting it, just maybe getting the wrong way. FKIK blend complement and FKIK blend. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So in guided mode, we do have a guidey thing going on. I see. I can like it, but can you lock the foot down even if K? Yeah. Yeah, hybrid FK, IKFK. So I know what's going on now. We do have a pseudo guide mode on the foot. In a way, because right now we have input A and input B, so we're blending between the two stages. So we already implemented it. Ignore what I said before that we would have to add things. We already have the full implementation, which boils down to the blending going to the buffers as well as the behavior on the ankle, which is actually the desirable one. And that comes from the leg and gets transmitted down. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're blending between two values, and those two values are the same, which makes perfect sense when you are guiding something, because those values need to change as you guide the foot, because the default, the rest values do change, and those are the ones you want your buffer set. So that makes sense now. So the other thing I will say is, right now, one of the two values is the one coming from, for the buffers, is the one coming from the foot roll proper, which is great. What we want is the base value, if you will, like the rest value of the foot, which is what it should go to when it's in FK, to be the one that comes from these. And I'm wondering how much work, like if we have that in the guide, if we already have these in the guide, which we should have because we're transmitting it there, it might or might not be valid because the angles might differ. So not bad. We might be able to just fix it. Just again, do not do that. Anyway, leg global output, rolled ankle, tarsi angle, toe angle. So this is the global output. Ankle rest, plant, toe rest. So we do have some angle, tarsi rest and toe rest, which we're already extracting, which we're using to set the rest of that. So we're not like, if those angles are valid, like we get away with just one connection to change and we're good. They might not be the ones we want because they might be measured in the other direction, they might need to be re-signed, but no harm in giving it a little bit of a shot. So weight B is the unadulterated FKIK blend, and then the complement is gonna be weight A. So that means that so thinking out loud, so B should be the FK one. Tarsi rest, toe rest, and this is the tarsi. Like, does what I'm saying even make sense? Do I have it the wrong way around, by the way? Yeah, I do have it the wrong way around. So they might need to be re-signed. That is interesting. Let me see what is going on there. Okay, I'm not hating it because it's it's static, so we're onto something. Now the toe rest angle in input A. So we need to get the correct values, which might mean that we need to change the sign. So what we get from the config is we have a guide. And do I need an overlay? I do need an overlay to explain these, Eric. I'm sure most people, well, quite a few people will probably get it, but I'm not sure it is universally obvious what's going on. So let me elaborate for a few seconds / minutes. So we have these coming from the guide 1 and 2, and these is giving us the rest angles, and I don't remember which one we're measuring. It might be these or it might be these. I have to look at it. And that is the angle between the toe and the tarsi. So we use that for several operations. That comes from the guide, and that's static. Like, you guide it and it falls into place, and that's the end of the story. Then we have another angle which comes from the foot roll, which is very, very similar, and it's pretty much equivalent, and it will be, again, I will need to look at which is which. It might be that or it might be that, and then the other one might be that for the toes, or for all I know it might be that. I don't remember which is which. Now for the moving part of things, you want these angles from the moving foot roll, and that applies to the IK, and we're good with that, and it's done. For the FK, you normally want these angles here. You want the foot to be in a rest kind of state and be in such a rest state while following the ankles. So you want it to be like that, which means that blending between these dynamic angles of the IK when the foot is going to the IK and using the rest angles that come from the leg global guide as the ones that we use for the FK will get us what we want. And that's what I'm after. That's what I'm looking at right now. I've hooked up a couple of values just to see if this is working, and it seems to be working in those regards. So you can see that now the foot remains statically anchored to the leg, as you would expect in FK, or rather as animators would expect in FK. So behavior is as desired. Now the next thing to figure out is using the right angles. That sounds like a terrible pun, but it is not. So this looks like it is signed the wrong way around. So this looks like here it's in the rest, it's going like that, and in our static thingy, come on, it's going like that, which might be as simple as negating it, or it might mean that we need the complementary angle instead, the complement angle. So now I am tempted to, we could be wise and invest and spend time dissecting all the numbers, or we could just go scattershot and try a couple things and see if they respond, which is sometimes unwise, but it's quick. Let me see. We're about 44 minutes in, and we're adding a feature. I'm gonna try a quick scattershot, because even if it doesn't work out, it'll give me an idea of what is going on. So on one hand, I am disappointed that we might not be finishing the whole puppet on episode 42, no answer to everything, but we have the final question, which is the one thing to fix in the foot. So tarsi rest, toes. So we are saying that this is the tarsi angle, I believe, and this is the toe angle. So between tarsi and toe it's toe, and between ankle and tarsi it's tarsi. I'm okay with that. It makes enough sense to me. Now, whether it needs to be connected to the negative scaling flag or not, that's something that we will see once we do it on that foot. Because on that foot, this might not need to be re-signed. The other thing I can do is, so we say toe rest, input A. So if for a moment I disconnect that and I change the sign, yeah. Pardon me. The irony. Nah, not really ironic, because one is complement, so it's 0, 1 anyway. Not. I was about to say maybe the IK will work out, but it's not. That's silly. I'm kind of not minding these actually, because if these were to be simply multiplied by 1 minus 1 and whatnot, we would have a simple response to the negative scaling. We might need to yeah, that's okay. So, oh, Redbeard Mac Fancy Pants, thanks for the sub. It's like, it's been funny, like there's been 3 subscriptions today, which is more subscriptions than all the subscriptions I had before. Thank you. So, if you have a Prime and you want to spare it, that's cool. That is great. I don't know if I'll ever see a payout. Anyway, signing these. See, now I want to see the same thing in the other side, on the right side, to see if I need to introduce the negative scaling or not. Well, I do need to sign the, so multiple linear, yes. Need more action and less thinking, okay. Now I need to, anyway, sign this angle. That's the end of the story, so I might as well do it. Now the questions, and this is on weight A. The question is whether it needs to be negative scale independent or not. So that's been zeroed out, I reckon. Yeah, which is okay. And that is being negated. We're only working on one axis, so we should be okay with that. Now, it's not impossible that even this one is simply in need of re-signing, and that's it. So that will be weight A here. Really, is it gonna be that simple? It looks correct. And it's still responding to the guide the way I would expect it, more or less. No, it's only responding to the length and not the angle, is it? Oops. I am confusing myself, okay. I mean, we do know where we want to tackle things, and we do know the nature of the problem, so I'm kind of happy with that. But I would like to do a bit more. I would like... See, this is not correct. Unless I've also introduced rotations here now. So one of the two isn't as simple as re-signing the angle. The other one might actually be... So let me also reset these. There is what is your problem? Is that a refresh issue? Not loving that. I need to look at that. Why do we have it looks like we might also have another issue with the IK. That one I can't quite puzzle, so like global too much. Oh no, never mind. We had roll on. Okay, we are good. It was a moment of panic there for me. So, okay, so it's I've gone a little bit contemplative because I was thrown for a loop by that. Now, and I've been saying this a few times, but I think it bears repeating. One of the things I like about separating the components the way I do is that it becomes silly easy to hide and hide things and work in subsets. I always like that of this system, even when you're working with just vanilla Maya. So in IK, obviously enough, it works fine. Then the angles go a little bit wonky there. Now, this is toes, and toes is the one that we might actually be fine with. So let me disconnect the blended rod. What? You know, keeping value. I do not love that. Wait a. Oh yes, of course. That will make sense, because if it's not keeping the value, that means I can do that. That is cool. Sorry, if this was static, like the blend would have basically kept that value the same and only changed that. That's why we're saying a little bit of wonkiness. Now, Lego and in parameters. So that is actually, oh, it's taking the angle being being re-signed. So what I want to do here, for only for a limited amount of time, toe angle, and this is the tarsi. I want to revert to the old state and verify whether we get away with the cheapo version of the tarsi to toe angle, which we're calling toe angle. So that done. Now ensure that the foot roll, I mean, should have no issues with these, obviously enough. Yeah, the value is not good. So we need to do a little bit more work than what we are doing, which is fine. Those rest values are fine for the values that we get out of the guide, which walk in this direction, but the foot goes in the other direction. So that's not a surprise, but it was worth giving it a quick shot, I reckon. So one thing we can do is we need to look at the numbers a little bit. How far are we into these? Yeah, we're almost 1 hour in, but these will finish the rig. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a shot. I like to finish streams with something finished, not leave things hanging, but we're so close to being done with these. I mean, Now, and it'll be interesting to see how it interacts with negative scaling as well. So it might not be the whole rig done today, but I'd like to finish at least exploring these problems. So one angle that we need is, oops, and I mean this will take away time, but it's still a didactic stream, so I think it's pretty important that we explain what we're trying to do. And so what we have is FK going this way, and then this is going that way. So I suspect that the angle that I want is this, which from the rest, only from the rest, which will make it a relatively minute angle most of the time. Well, unless the roll is, sorry, the guide is resting the foot at an angle such as this, which is, so doesn't, yeah, anyway. So what is this angle that I am receiving as toe rest? Tarsi rest, toe rest, 731. Because that angle looks enticing. I mean, it looks like a good number. I wouldn't be surprised if these were, you know, 7 degrees and spare change, and these are in degrees, not in radians. Otherwise, that will be massive. That will be, will pretty much be a full roll. Anyway. So that is gonna go for L2 parameters. Ooh. I had already done the guiding on the foot. Am I that much? Nah, no way. Am I a complete idiot? I might be a complete idiot. It is very possible that this is irrelevant busy work and I had everything set up. I should have checked that first. Were we really that diligent? No way this is right. But hey, we gotta try it. So I've just restored things the way they were. And I do have the handedness going in there. Global config stays the way it is. I don't think I changed anything else. So that will be funny in a terrible way, but let me swap the guide out and let's see what happens. Because the FKIK blend was not connected. So that's one, and leg L anim. So that is working, and now the moment of truth. Oops, like global. I had already fixed it. Like I had already done everything right the first time around. It was just the guide mode that was pushing in those values. Oh, that is so embarrassing. Because yeah, all it needs to do is disconnect these and they become constants. So yes, it is. Okay, that happened. Not for the first time. Hey, at least we've reanalyzed the rig a little bit. Can't be bad, right? So that means, and that does consider the handedness because it had the matrix there. That means that the rig is fit and done. I want to modify the geo. Sorry for that, I'm still undecided. I mean, I think that discussing the, you know, what is going on might not have been necessarily bad. Probably even useful. But at the same time, it also, from a pure rigging point of view, was a waste of time because we had completely solved that problem. And all I had to do was follow my own advice and look at the tool parameters and see if the component is already tooled up, which it was. All right. So that, I mean, there's worse in life, right? Now, that is the 1 hour mark. And it seems like the rig is done. I really need to add login to the swap. Save it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that might be a good idea. I mean, I've messed with it a fair bit, and I'm almost tempted to go back to the original scene, but again, mark of an okay rig, okay kind of composition, you know, ordered and everything, is that you can mess with it to some extent, and if you reconnect things the way they were, like if you done due diligence, it shouldn't be too bad. So I think I confused myself because I did okay work like laying out these things, and then they're fairly minimalist. These were verifying several parameters as I was doing that work, but it wasn't the full layout, and so I had not noticed that these are 2 parameters and everything. Now, to conclude that this is not guided, this is not guided, so let's re-guide 1 and let's re-guide 2. One and 2, and I think it needs to be in IK mode to be reliably guided. So that FKIK thing, though, we did need to connect that. I don't remember if it's clearly been responding okay to the guide anyway. So let's connect that. Sorry, and we pretty much call it a day on the rig itself. Leg aligning parameters. So I want leg R and in parameters. Control, and I want it to for input R. So let me pin these, and this is already pinned. And let me see, is everything pinned here? Yes, it was, but you never know. It's Maya. Can't always quite trust it. So yes, it did not have the FKIK connected, and we said we want it in 1, and this is not an in parameters, this is the input, so clearly we didn't mean for it to have its own control. So we're okay with that. Now, what else is there that we need to do to make sure that this is in good shape? Leg global R component, config anim. So I want the control anim parameters for leg global R. I should probably get rid of that roll animation. I mean, this is as good a time as any. Delete please. So what else? I would like the FKIK should be on leg R. So guided. Now, is the foot also guided? Or did I think I de-guided it? Whoa, no I didn't. And the response is pretty good. Like even with things connected, regardless of IK, FK blending, I think it still works the way we're doing things. So that's guided. Is that still guided? That is guided. All right. Now this should be, yeah, and like that. Saving. So that's, really? It's the end of an era. Is it the rig done? It feels like it's the rig done. Now, I wouldn't mind a less, like there's a limit. We've enforced a limit in our IKFK solver, It's I feel this is too much. Like, I mean, if the legs were fatter, that'd be okay. So now what I don't know, no, I did not want that. I thought, okay. What I don't know is whether this will animate fine, but it's the next step. I might distribute this scene as is. I think it's good enough to have a go at distributing. Now, what I do not love just yet is normally I would not model something in this kind of position, and I would not like to receive something like this for modeling, because that kind of thing for legs is actually hyper compressed. So there's a couple things we want to do there. One of them being, you know, these legs, the rest position should be more like at least that kind of thing. I'm making a mess of these, but what was it? P was the secret tool? No. I already... What? Pins? I didn't know you could have pins. I don't even know what pins are. Anyway, like it should be more at an angle like this. Possibly even more. But that's for when we'll talk deformations. And then you want this to be a little bit in excess of that angle, so that when it hits the limit that prevents, you know, the harshest part of the pop, this leg will be straight. And that's the kind of stuff where guiding does really well for you, because it means that you can eyeball those things and like bind it, rebind it pretty quickly. And we'll get to the deformation part of these, I guess, next, which shouldn't be too hard. So refitting the model and and showing how to have the guide also contribute to live bind poses, which are pretty convenient, so that you can float your bones inside the model as you guide and keep your bindings. We should be showing that. It's probably easy enough. Anyway, so before I share it, I guess I'd like to remove, well, not remove, but reduce that limit. Am I still making sense even? So now, I think I don't remember where we had that limit. It should probably be, I know we have an expression to do the IK. And I'm not gonna ramble about scripts and expressions and scripted nodes again. Now, is the limit for it? So what are we receiving for inputs? We're definitely getting no. Yes, okay. Pardon me. We're getting the femur length and tibia length, which is absolutely correcto. Now, if I go and pick, no. Don't care for the time here. It's not a time dependent expression. It should still evaluate fine even without that. In fact, I didn't realize we had the time in it. Now, what I was asking for is select items upstream, please. See, that's, I need to write it. Like, there's a script I use a lot, a tool, whatever you want to call it, where you can select upstream by 1. Because now I want to see what the third factor is. Ah, there you go. And the clamp distance between the two. So these all make sense. The IK is receiving the right parameters. The limit, the anti-pop limit we talked about, is not parametric. It's just it's gonna be ingrained in the expression. I would like to reduce that a little bit because I do not love the way it is now. It's a bit harsh. And if you want to go one step further on Patreon, I actually have soft IK done, and the code is but like up for everybody to see. What am I looking for? I'm slowing down. So expression editor is in the animation editor, says I remembered. Yes. Yes. Okay. Why am I forget. Valuation always on demand after close. Doesn't matter. Why am I not? Oh, there you go. Now the part I don't remember is like select filter by expression name. Thank you. I was getting lost there. It shows you how often I use these things. Now we're getting ABC are the three sides of our triangle. Square A, square B, square C. That's okay. That's for Pythagoras. Can I tell me? Yes, I can zoom these. That's good. So it's like people trying to read these. I can hear the eyes squinting. Degree to rads. Oh, that's funky. So I don't encode to hit clamp distance. I don't see an obvious magic number in there. So I might have done it by limiting the displacement. So clamp displacement, I reckon. Clamp distance. I reckon I've limited it this way. So sorry, it's again I'm sort of getting lost in thought a little bit. But if you don't remember, like this limit can be done angularly, or you can limit how far as you move these, how far it will reach before it'll go like, okay, that's far enough, reach no far, and that's when we clamp the effector of the IK, which is going to be length limited, versus the handle, which can be anywhere in the word by design. So hip to ankle distance, there is bound to be a magic number. Limit F no, there you go, 992. So we could make that procedural, will not be a bad idea. 992 is actually pretty harsh limit. Like, I know it sounds like a number that's very close to 1, but it's not. It produces a massive angular displacement, massive angular limit. We could do 998, and now that should allow us. Yeah, see how we can now restrict these less, as in we can move it closer. Again, I sort of like -029. Can I get away with -022? Maybe. I like that we're able to find things pretty quick. I think that is good. And I know I said it a few times, so I will stop saying it. But I do like it. So that, yeah, it seems to hit 0.2 fine. -0.4. So I reckon that's a good number. Leg. So what was it? F node add. Length limit, that makes perfect sense. Okay, name. Not crazy good, but we could browse the graph. and find what we wanted. So what I don't love is that I'm not getting legal length limit if I search for it. Why? Oh, okay. I might know why. Because I was filtering non-DAG. There you go. Also sensible. I think we say 998. Yeah. All right. Are you clamping on the way out of the expression? Oh, sorry. That's pre me finding what it was. We were clamping the distance. I think I've explained that at this point. So this is where I will say with the bones at this kind of angle, if we were eyeballing it, if we were to align, if we were to bend the model so that this edge, this side, the inside edge of the legs, is past the fulcrum of the IK by say this much, then I reckon that when it's in standard position, you know, and then we'll guide it into submission a bit and all of that. When it's in standard position, it'll work out alright when it's all the way receded. So that was to test that the limits worked. Now I would like to move these back out. That was not a bad kind of value. All right, so that's it. I think that's everything for the puppet. I don't know how long I lost chasing the angular thing on the foot, which we had solved already brilliantly. Go us. Do we have any questions? Because I think this is pretty much it. What's it been? Hour 15 minutes, same as the other day. Now, if there are no questions, in the meantime, so I had Brad Clark. I think a lot of my viewers probably know him. Brad is founder, owner, or co-founder, co-owner of Rigging Dojo. Good people. And yesterday, in episode 41, I was saying, you know, the ATC is quoting me and saying the 80s and 90s want their build scripts back. 2010 and beyond should be everything live. So he's quoting me there and he's saying, talking about guides, where do you separate scripted automations versus a build guide component file you load and adjust? Just want some clarity on that comment if you would. I might as well answer that, and then I don't know if Brad is viewing right now. I don't think so. And send him a link to the video. So the whole thing with live guides, beside the fact that I like them, and I think that build scripts are like when everything in a pipeline is based on build scripts, which a lot of pipelines out there are based on, and you cannot modify things live. So if you completely exclude the idea of guiding and modifying things live, you're in a bad place, end of story. And probably 99% of the industry out there is in a bad place. Because for some reason, like many other things in rigging, everybody got stuck with the whole, oh, build scripts are a great idea. And it's like, build scripts are okay. I'm not against having a build system, tool chains, whatever you want to, you know, whatever parallels you want to see from the, you know, between rigging and the development work. But that being your only thing, or even just your main thing, I believe is a terrible idea. It's very antiquated. So where I draw, there's no real line, right? But people run build scripts which create massive, like they are really tough to put together and create massive amounts of stuff, and you have to edit numerical values in them, magic numbers everywhere. Like they rig things, then they go and try to figure out the script that will build that rig, then figure out the parameters that given to the script will build the rig, slightly tweak that. Like when you think about it, that's pretty insane. So when you look at pipelines that have build scripts, and when you look at how long it takes to make something live guidable, I think live guides actually pull ahead. I know they do for me, and I'm, reasonably fast at writing build scripts if I want to. I just don't think they're a very good idea. So there's no drawing the line. I think that build scripts being the main thing, let alone like the only thing very often, is just bad. That's the way I see it. Now, build scripts, if you look at software, are very much the equivalent, when you think about it, of CMake. And in software development, you will have your code doing things, much like, our components here. These items are pretty much software that will take numbers, evaluate things, and transform them into different numbers. That's all they're doing. So in a way, this is your compiled program. And the build script creating that is kind of informing how to put that thing together. So it's a little bit of a mix between the CMake and the work that the compiler might do. And people put so much time into those instead of the time that they should be putting in the rig itself, in the software itself. That's the other issue I have with it. And it's again, much like in software development, people that spend hours and hours and days and weeks on their build scripts, on their build systems, the CMake, and neglect the software and making the software simpler to build, and and naturally more cross-platform or whatever. It's the same thing. Would you hack code snippets together to do some heavy lifting then, like distributing hundreds joints along a curve, for example? Yes. So that's the other thing. Like the moment you have, live guides, in the broader sense, like if you want very powerful things, like say one of the parameters here, let's say you have a twisty kind of thing. Let's say we're doing the spine, and you want control over the number of vertebrae, right? If you want a live guide that can create and destroy objects, you cannot do it in the software, like in the coding side of Maya, where you hook nodes together. It's a meta. So live guides are kind of meta rigs, but are limited. They're bounded by the same constraints, no pun intended, that you have for the Maya rigs themselves, right? But if you want to create or destroy things on the fly, much like you would do so with a CMake when you're building software, you might be interested in multiple artifacts, or splitting things, or configuring what you're doing, even the dependencies. The same applies to guides. If you need to create or destroy participating elements, then you need something that is run once. You can't do it in an acyclic graph, and we want to keep our graphs acyclic. Now, the way I would do it is actually callbacks, to be honest, so that I can change a parameter here, like number of vertebrae, and a callback takes care of adding and removing, items in an array, or, items in a hierarchy. And just as I was saying, callbacks, and there's a bit of lag between the stream and the chat, obviously. Dan was saying callbacks for things like that. Yeah, I would say that in a pipeline, like in a seriously pipelinable, like film VFX, feature animation, large scale kind of application of these principles, you want pre-build, post-build, and you want the ability to quickly integrate callbacks together with rig components. So you bring a rig component in, you change the number of vertebrae, the callback is responsible for changing the items that you have in the scene that represent your component, the items in the graph and their hooks and all of that. And that can get tricky, that can be a lot of work, but once you get used to it, less than a lot of people suspect it actually is. And the maintenance for these is a tiniest fraction compared to the amount of time people put into build scripts and build system for scripting build scripts that build stuff. I don't know, it boggles the mind. And then if you have a pre and post and people don't abuse it, and oftentimes TDs will abuse whatever they have a hint, you can do a little bit of like pre-flight and clean up before and after you import a component, if you want to talk about pipelining around the system like this. So there you go. I could not have fit that into Twitter, and I thought it was a pretty interesting question, like on Brad's side, and I wanted to answer it. So I've been sitting on it. Anyway, I think we're good. I believe we are good as is. I'm calling it a day because we're almost an hour and a half in. We have a scene ready for export. I think everything is guided again. The mesh is showing, and the next time we're gonna bind this thing, I might refit it offline because I don't think you want to see me fiddle points on stream. But yeah, I think we're in a good place. So thank you everybody for watching, and thank you particularly everybody on the stream for the company and for reminding me to save occasionally and for reminding me that I need to filter by expression names or whatever expression attributes. We're good. I'm calling it. Thank you and have a good day, everybody.